I will continue to invest in Canadians. Who said that? Before you get the answer to that, please subscribe, ask your friends to subscribe, and if you can, PayPal, because that other guy who's investing in Canadians does not pay us like he does with the Toronto Star. John Capobianco, Vice President, Fleischman Hillyer High Road. It is a giant PR firm. He's also a big conservative. Joins me right now because the Prime Minister is always saying, I invest in Canadians. And a lot of people are saying, my view, they say, like, what do you mean investing? You're spending high road, like piles of money.
Yeah.
What does that mean, investing in Canadians?
You're not the only one that's confused on this. And quite frankly, I'd like to know which Canadians he's investing in and how much is he
and
investing what. I find that over the course of the last number of years that he's been Prime Minister, the level of discourse that we've had as Canadians and as politics has increased over the years and over election after election. And I think it's because the Prime Minister realizes that the issues that he once believed in when he first got elected some 8 years ago are not working anymore. And that the economy and the Canadian government and the world has gone in a different step, certainly post-pandemic. Everybody gave him credit for the pandemic, and yes, money should have been spent, and he did invest in a lot of Canadians and a lot of Canadian issues back then. But since then, so Stephen, what has he done? He hasn't course corrected. He doesn't talk about deficit reduction. He doesn't talk about trying to make sure things are better for Canadians. And quite frankly, if it wasn't for Pierre Poilievre, who put pressure on him to talk about pocketbook issues, he wouldn't be talking about housing. He wouldn't be talking about inflation.
What about carbon, though? That was his big thing. I am going to make the air clean for your kids to breathe. We know now that he hasn't. Well, it just hasn't worked in Canada.
And his only answer to environmental issues is either to completely eradicate everything that was causing some sort of environmental issue, or to tax people for doing it. And taxing is incredibly hard on Canadians, especially now with inflation the way it is. So adding another tax, like a carbon tax, to what already is a high level of pricing when it comes to gas, when it comes to groceries, you're just forcing Canadians to make choices, and that's not a good thing for any leader.
Put this to you. I know a number of people who have been indoctrinated, and their parents have been indoctrinated over the last 40 years about climate change, and we're going to, and you see it in all the Toronto Star, other papers, we're going to fry unless we do something about it. Environmentalists say no matter what Canada does, it's not going to make a change, but what's your party going to do to answer that politically? What about climate change?
Well, and we as a party have, over the course of the last number of years, including Aaron O'Toole, our last leader, who actually put in a climate program and a climate strategy. But for the Liberals, if it's not about taxing carbon issues, then you don't have a climate policy. And for us, it's not about taxing people. It's about actually incenting companies to use less gas and to use less fossil fuels, but at the same time realizing that fossil fuels are an important part of Canadian economy and Canadian history.
Well, it's a huge part of it, and as we've seen, we've lost to Australia and to many other countries who are selling LNG to Qatar, and Qatar is selling it, and we've lost that market.
Yeah, and I think that you're going to find the Prime Minister is going to continue to use that as a wedge issue, and it's not going to work for him.
John, thank you very much. 3 minutes. This show provides independent analysis of the issues. We are not paid by the government, and as I am finding, so much business in Canada relies upon various governments that they don't want to sponsor or advertise on a show which may become controversial, which talks about liberty, freedoms, sometimes criticizes government. I've had guests on that support the government. But people are saying, you know what? We don't want to bite the hand that feeds us, i.e. government, which is why I hope you'll subscribe and contribute to keep this show on the air.